Hey, this is Paul Green, the Wise Grappler, and I want to welcome you to the next installment of the Ask the Wise Grappler video series. In this installment, I'm going to deal with a question that was sent to me by a newly promoted Blue Belt OG who's hit kind of a valley in his training, and he's getting frustrated by it, and he just wanted to know if the things that he was enduring were specific to him or if they were some kind of uncommon thing. And once I read what he wrote to me and I started analyzing what he was saying, and based upon my own experience, I realized what he was enduring was something that not only I've gone through, but other grapplers as well. So what I decided to do was compile a list of the 10 most common BJJ lows, as I like to call them, and I'll deal with the first one now. Okay, the first one is what I consider progressing too fast and then slowing down later on. And this happens quite often with any kind of sport or repetitive kind of action where the user is going from a novice level where he knows absolutely nothing about the skill set to where he has to become proficient at a certain set of skills to get to a level of expertise. For example, when you first come into grappling, the majority of the people now coming in have little or no experiences. You'll find that there's some guys that had some high school wrestling, maybe done some judo and things like that, but that's not the average guy that's coming in the door. The average guy coming in the door has done some other types of martial arts, whereas compared to, let's say, wrestling and judo, those are, I would say, smaller / niche kind of sports, but they do have a wider population within grappling. But the average Joe was kind of like me. You know, I played some sports growing up. I didn't do anything organized, dabbled a little bit of boxing, and then I got into Jiu-Jitsu. And when you start to pull some of the people in your class, just like I do, I found out that there are a lot more people that are like me than the guy who wrestled in high school or then wrestled in college and then decided to come to Jiu-Jitsu. They're there, but they're not the majority of the people. So when you come from that kind of background where you have little or no knowledge on the ground or the submission skills that you'll need, everything is fresh. So when you're showed something and you try it, and after you do it a few times, it becomes a skill that you acquire quickly, and the more fun you're having it and the more successful you are at executing, let's say, on willing partners, then you'll gain more confidence in it, and you'll find that your ability to execute the move gets a lot smoother. Now, over time, you'll see that the rapid improvement that you noticed when you knew absolutely nothing, and now that you're going to someone who can do this particular move or technique rather easily, it'll appear as if your progress is starting to slow down. And it's not that your progress is starting to slow down, it's just that you're not as bad as you used to be. So when something like that starts to occur, the thing to do is to not to focus so much on the fact that the move that you execute now with a level of proficiency, it just doesn't seem like you're getting any better. Now it's time to go back and to start spending time on those other weak areas so that the same thing will reoccur. You want to always start building up the weaknesses. Not forget about the strengths, but build up the weaknesses so that when you learn how to do an armbar for the first time and you're horrible at it, and then you get good at it, and then it just seems like, well, I'm not getting any better at it. Then you start to you need to start doing some things around that armbar, not just that armbar, but some techniques around the armbar that you're not that good at, so that you go back to the beginner level again, and then you start to come up. And if it feeds into the technique or the concept that you're already getting confident in, then you still are doing a separate technique that's kind of just leading you right back to the first thing that you've already become somewhat proficient with. So you're learning a new thing and getting to a point where you're kind of working the same thing again and again. So that's the best thing to do. If you're just constantly doing the same thing over and over again and it just feels like you're not getting any better, you don't see any progress or any results, and you're starting to doubt that, always just step back from the scene, take a look at what you're doing, the things that are working well, and then start focusing on the things that don't work so well in the same area. So if your armbar is really good from the mount, and you feel like, well, you're not really sure if you're getting better at that because you didn't go from where I suck to now where I'm looking pretty good at it, think about getting to the mount and Then once you hit the arm bar, where do you go next? What happens if the move fails? What happens if he counters it? And those are the things that you start building around it, strengthening those weak areas around the thing that's already gotten pretty good, so that you'll always feel like there's improvement, there's progress. And once you get the mindset that you're still progressing, then you're going to keep progressing. Once you start getting the mindset that you hit a low and you're not getting any better, then your body's just going to react and start doing exactly what your mind's telling you to do. And that's going to be the first tip right there. Be on the lookout for the other 9 tips in this video series. If this first one applied to you, try what I said. Just figure out where it applies in your particular game area. And if you feel like you're really good at one area, just start building the concepts and the techniques and the positions that surround that in case the move fails, or you need to go to a counter, or just need to be thinking 2 or 3 or 4 steps ahead of your opponent. And I'm sure you'll see that so-called flat line that you think that's occurring in your grappling. You'll see it go up, and you'll feel like you're progressing again. And once you think you're progressing, then you'll actually be progressing. Until then, be on the lookout for the next segment of the Ask the Wise Grappler series. If you want some good grappling tips for the over 35 grappler and the non-competitive guy, but also works well for the competitive guy as well, check out www.thewisegrappler.com.